to start by sharing a little of my own journey of how I ended up in Peru, because it was quite a, kind of serendipitous journey. And I would start by saying that it is my firm belief that there is a power in the universe that conspires to assist us to become our best selves. And that power, some people call the divine creator, or God, or Great Spirit, whatever, has many names. But it's this understanding that there is something in us that's connected to that source that really does conspire to assist us. But like with anything, we need to tune in to the frequency of it in order to really hear and respond to the messages that we receive. And there's lots of ways to tune in to that frequency, but I would say in my 30-year spiritual journey that I would venture to say that one of the best ways is to meditate, or at least to make yourself a quiet moment to be able to go inside. And I remember, gosh, how old was I? I was in my 30s, and I was frustrated and I was searching, and I came across a book called, I think it was called Christian Disciplines. And there were 7, I don't remember the rest, but there were 7 things, and one of them was meditation. And I thought, oh, that's interesting that meditation is in this book. So I first, when I first was looking at it, I thought, oh man, I could never do that. I just don't have the time, and I'm a busy person, and But then I made a commitment, and I said, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks, and I'm going to give it a try. And yeah, that was 30-something years ago. So I kept doing it, lucky for me, almost every day since I started. And also there are many, many ways of meditating. And the one that kind of appealed to me was sitting down and having a conversation with God. And I just, it was kind of like a little check-in. So I got quiet, and then it was like, okay, how am I feeling? And then I would start having a conversation. And of course, we know Neil Diamond Walsh made a great book, and, many books about his conversations with God. But I do think that it's something on whatever level that's available to all of us. But for me, it was an interesting process, because it allowed me to, kind of check in with myself, but also to kind of connect to something higher or bigger than myself, or maybe to say my higher self. And one day, I got a message. I had just, I had a job that I lost, and I was really searching for something new to do with my life, and I'd heard about spiritual direction. So I had an appointment to see a woman pastor to ask her if she would consider doing spiritual direction with me. And that morning when I did my meditation, I heard a message from God. And the message was, pay attention today, because I have a message for you. It's like, okay. And when I got to the appointment, I started, I was talking to this woman, and she asked me why I was there and what was and I said, well, I've done a lot of issues with the church, and I have a lot of, you know, stuff, and I don't believe this and that, but I'm really, you know, looking for something. And she said to me, it sounds like you want to go to seminary. Have you ever thought about that? Now, it was one of those moments, you know, where the room lights splashed and my heart was pounding, and, you know, like I thought, that's the craziest thing that I ever heard. And I heard myself answering her, yes, I do. But I didn't think seminary took people like me. And she said, oh, yeah, seminary's full of religious skeptics, she said. People just like you. And anyway, I hardly heard any of the rest of our conversation because I just thought, no. I was 36 years old. I knew it was a, you know, it's a 3-year academic program. I would have had to take the GREs. I hadn't been in school in ages, and, you know, plus the money and everything. And it was just like so big. And I was meeting my friend Karen for lunch after the talk on the other side of town. This is when I was living in New York City. And I had my bicycle, and I was riding my bicycle over to meet Karen, and I'm talking to God. I'm like, okay, that was probably the message, but really it's a little too crazy for me. And so I tell you what, I'm gonna tell Karen, because I thought, how can I even tell anybody about this? I said, I'm going to tell Karen, and if Karen thinks it's crazy, I'm just going to forget about it. But if Karen thinks it's like, you know, maybe an okay idea, I'll explore it. So we get to the restaurant where, you know, we're in this booth, and we're sitting across from each other, and, you know, I'm very nervous. I'm like, you know, I tell her the story, and she looks at me. And she's got tears streaming down her cheeks, and she reaches across the table and said, Diane, it's perfect. So, well, that was like a pretty can't miss the message story. So anyway, as you know, I did end up going to seminary and did the GREs and everything. And I would say I have continued to get a lot of messages that have led me to very wonderful places. But that one was like the message for the beginning, like you're really gonna get this, okay? You ask for this and I'm telling you this. No. Sometimes they're not always those messages, they're not always so clear. And so, you know, hit the hammer over your head.